Business Brain, episode 615 for Casual Friday, January 17th, National Customer Service Day 2025. Greetings, folks, and welcome to Business Brain, the show by, for, and about small business owners. Here in Durham, New Hampshire, I'm Dave Hamilton.
And out here in Lafayette, California, I'm still Shannon Jean. How's it going, Dave? Happy Friday.
Happy Casual Friday indeed. Shannon, I am so stoked to have someone on the show who's been running at least this one business for, I believe, 25 years. He's been running SCOTTeVEST along with his wife. Scott Jordan, thank you for coming on the show.
How you doing? Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. It's great to have you here. Yeah. Did I get that right? 25 years with SCOTTeVEST? Is that right?
I believe it's 24.
Okay.
Still amazing, man.
I think 25 is in December of this year. So
okay.
We've done the show
we're getting close.
Yeah, we've done the show for 10 years, and I think Dave has talked about having you on the show someday for maybe 8 of those years. So it's awesome. Thank you very much.
Well, I mean, you have an interesting story, and it continues to evolve. Like you have not your business, the form of your business, what you do with the business, none of it has stagnated, and I love that. You're always trying new things. How you studied to be an attorney, right? And then got sick of that, or did that lead you to something that was like, I can do better this way? What was that initial path like?
So I was practicing law. I graduated law school in 1992, and I went to work for a very large law firm in Chicago that turned into DLA, which is the largest law firm in the world by far. And I found myself dotting I's and crossing T's and arguing over condemnation provisions in contracts that were never going to see the light of day, and working my ass off. And after doing that for a number of years, I decided that I needed a way out, and I started looking for another job. And what I found is that as a lawyer, you're perceived as a lawyer forever. You can never. You have a scarlet L on your forehead, and you start looking for a job, and they're like, "You're a lawyer," And so I went to work in-house counsel first, and it was even worse than a law firm because a variety of reasons. But then I went to work for a startup company. And lo and behold, they hired me as the lawyer. There were 3 of us,
of course,
and they would only let me do legal stuff. And there's not a lot of legal stuff in a 3-person startup, internet startup. It was called the Next 50 for next 50 years of your life, a portal for seniors. And in doing so, I was commuting. I commuted to Princeton, New Jersey from Chicago 4 days a week. So I had to go travel, many hours and sit in an office doing nothing, and then travel home, for the weekend. And it was miserable. But
for people who don't know, that those are airplane rides. That's not like short little ride in the car or anything. Yeah.
And I shared an apartment with another guy, and I would just go to work, shut my office door, and start practicing law for other people, to be honest with you, because I'm just sitting there doing nothing. Yeah. I would go into his office and say, I have an idea, let's get whoever saw the first version of Survivor with Rudy. There was a cantankerous old dude. I said, let's get him as our spokesperson for our show. And I'm in touch, and thought it was an awesome idea. He was the star of the first season, and he's like, "Listen, lawyer, do your lawyer things." I'm like, "There's no lawyer things to do.
Stay in your lane."
Stay in my lane. So
that would have been a great idea. Did you get Rudy from Survivor?
I was in touch with him. But of course the business guy thought I was a lawyer, and it must be stupid. So
I think they might have missed out, Scott.
I think so too. But long story short, my boss, one of the 3 people, went to Ireland for 3 weeks in the summer, and I'm like, I'm not flying to Princeton, New Jersey to show FaceTime So when he's in Ireland, so I stayed at home, and he found out I was at home and didn't fly back and forth, saving his company a lot of money, and a big to do. And then I just said, this ain't working out. So I just quit. But what I did discover is in those travels, I had a number of devices on me. This is 1999 ish, and big Walkmans and camcorders, and there were cell phones, but there were you had to use a DPC to attach it to your pocket PC to get
I remember that.
connectivity, and
Oh
yeah,
Yeah.
and then fuel cells to get additional battery, and all the different cords that we had, and
You got
and
those phones required a lot of power. You needed like a
yeah.
nuclear reactor with you. You needed the Enron egg. No.
Yeah. A lot of stuff.
So it was through that experience. I said, there's got to be a better way of carrying all your devices. And I looked at what was on the market and what people were using. Fisherman's vest, travel vest, and big bulky vest. The Banana Republic vest, and put all your stuff in there.
Yeah.
And say, why doesn't someone design that with conduits for the wires and a better looking design with not external pockets but internal pockets? And I came up with the idea of SCOTTeVEST. And SCOTTeVEST was initially just a proof of concept because I didn't know anything about apparel, but I filed for a patent for the incorporation of wires in clothing. And I thought if I use SCOTTeVEST as an exemplar for other companies, showing them what technology-enabled clothing could be as sort of Gore-Tex or Intel inside ingredient branding or YKK for clothing, that I can come in to North Face and show them how to incorporate a pocket design that would allow you to carry your devices and multiple other things, and add the brand technology enabled clothing, TEC.
Yeah. I've seen that on my SCOTTeVEST stuff, and I knew what it stood for, but now hearing that the evolution was really, this was just sort of the thing as an example, and hopefully somebody else would pick it up. Got it.
Yeah. And I filed for patent. It took many years for the patent to come, and lo and behold, while I was preparing the website, which was a brochure website at the time, remember it's year 2000, and e-commerce was really just starting. I think this was pre-Amazon, if memory serves me, and or maybe simultaneously with Amazon. And my web designer said, "Do you want me to e-commerce enable that website for you?" I was like, "What? How much is that going to cost?" He said, there's a plug-in and a this and a that, $700. I'm like, I don't know. And they said yes. And it was the very first clothing company to start on the internet 20 years ago.
That might be the best $700 that anyone has ever spent. All right, folks. You know that feeling when you've got a killer business idea and can't sleep because your brain won't stop buzzing? That's the entrepreneur's grind. And of course, I've been there. When I started using our sponsor, Shopify, for merch with two of my businesses, including my Mac Geek Gab podcast, I felt like we just hired the MVP of our team. Shopify makes it ridiculously easy to set up your store, customize it, and start selling. No coding required. And their powerful social media tools connect all your channels so you can sell wherever and whenever your customers are scrolling. Shipping, taxes, payments, Shopify handles it all in one easy dashboard, letting you focus on what you do best, growing your business. If Shopify were a person, I'd give it a corner office and a lifetime supply of coffee because it's just that good at what it does. So why wait? Established in 2025 has a nice ring to it, doesn't it? Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/businessbrain, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/businessbrain to start selling with Shopify today. Shopify.com/businessbrain. And our thanks to Shopify for sponsoring this episode. All right, so Shopify didn't exist back then, and you spent $700 to enable e-commerce on your website, and then you started on a path of sustained growth. And we all realize that growth is never a straight line, but you were pushing and pushing to grow your business, growing the size of your team, all of those things. Were there ever potential thoughts of taking it public or anything like that?
That's funny. Of course, I
Sure.
think every entrepreneur when they first start, they think, oh, I'm gonna just go public and
Yeah.
growth, and all these concerns of grow or die.
Yes.
You have to innovate, and I could not emphasize enough how stupid all that thinking was.
So before we get into that, and I want to get into that emphasis, but just to show people the arc here, what was the largest, in terms of staff, what was the largest number of employees you had at SCOTTeVEST at the biggest point?
I think we had 21 under this roof.
Got it.
And a number of contractors outside, but most of them were here where I'm located, Sun Valley, Idaho, which is.
Were you making the clothes here, or having them made? Yeah, that's not figured out. So you're offshoring
in China,
that stuff, bringing it over. Okay, got it.
Yeah, but we were fulfilling here for some time, which was costly, and warehousing here, but we outsourced that as well.
Yeah, so 21 employees. I mean, that's a lot of people to carry, and you need a lot of revenue to support that, and infrastructure just to support the infrastructure. I mean, you get above 3 to 5 people, and things change real fast. With
I mean, we had someone just chief of staff, another person doing HR, the onboarding and offboarding, and all the drama that comes with all the employees. And I mean, it just was never ending. I mean, so.
Yes. Yeah. We know. We've been there. But then you had, sorry, Shannon.
No, you go, Dave.
Okay.
Get the path. Go ahead.
Well, then you, and this is what I reached out to you about, because you talked about this on Facebook a little bit. You were sort of forced to rethink things, because it turns out you were running a travel clothing company, and then we had a global pandemic. But that created that opportunity to rethink things, and I use the word opportunity, with air quotes. But that moment where you had to rethink things really gave you some perspective that I think is
100%.
Informing you today. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, completely. I mean, so through the course of the pandemic, and a couple years or a year prior to the pandemic, we tried to double down and get. We were at about 18 million in sales, and then I thought, okay, let's get to 50 million, and I handed the reins over to someone to do so, having just doubled the business with a formula that I thought would work, and sure enough. They managed to get from 18 to 17 million instead, and in doing so, lost $2 million in advertising, all in the course of probably 2 weeks over the holidays, for not ensuring that every dollar spent produced $1.25 or so of sales, and so we lost $2 million in real money, and we have no outside investors at the time. So when we lost $2 million, it was me and my wife that lost $2 million.
Right.
There was no one to look to. And so after having recovered from that in 2018 and becoming profitable, and thought we had a path of a smaller, tighter shop, and maybe 8-10 employees, and rethinking. At that point, it was survival. It wasn't grow for the sake of growth and IPO and whatnot. It was just
it is
survival.
Wonderful when something causes one's ego to get out of the way. And I say this personally, you think you're all that, you're growing a business, and then you hit a wall, and suddenly you realize, okay, the most important thing is to survive. That's it. And that's a
100%.
wonderful, it's freedom.
100%. It's freedom. It was survival.
Yeah.
You looked at everything on a clean slate. You looked at, in fact, we had moved to Shopify, your sponsor, from a legacy platform that we were using previously called Miva Merchant. We looked at every decision we made over the prior 19 years and decided, was that a smart decision? And we also figured out where the break-even point was, how much we needed to advertise, and all those things. And then the global pandemic came, and we're like, oh my God, I was seeing sales levels that were less than our first year in business for a single day.
Of course.
I mean, people, if you're not, listen, whether you're traveling or elsewhere, you're sitting in your basement. You don't need the pockets that SCOTTeVEST offers to put stuff in because you're not mobile.
To go from the basement upstairs and back down, it's probably not your priority to make sure you can do that with everything in one trip.
Yeah. So to cut to the chase, as a result of the pandemic, we lost all of our employees, not because we terminated any of them. We didn't. Just through attrition and people moving, and we're like, all right, well, what did they do? I'm like, well, not much, And after a while, we were down to one, and we're like, okay, it's a tight ship, and we had people doing customer service and overseas that were doing a really good job, and we had our fulfillment center and our factories, and we were still doing a legitimate business, but. Then this guy, quit, and we're like, "Holy crap! We're down to just the husband and wife team here. What are we going to do?" And my wife said, "We'll figure it out." So we figured it out,
good for her.
And as luck would have it, 2 years later, we have 0 employees, and we're doing really well. I mean, we're not focused on the top line. Our focus all along has been the bottom line, but I can't count figures, but
I'm sure it's
figures,
a faster.
And we're not focused on the growth. We're focused on just profitability. We kind of took that mentality. Look around, go outside, go for a walk down the street, identify stores left and right, and businesses left and right. And do you think that they need to get to $100 million to go on a really nice vacation and have a really nice life? I mean, you don't. And
we can all tell you the answer is no. Yes.
Yep.
No, you just build a profitable business. You want to call it a lifestyle business? Have at it. I live a pretty freaking good lifestyle. I have a Ferrari.
We say that all the time.
2 Porsches and a gorgeous penthouse, and I ski, and now I just my title now is I gallivant. I don't even really traditionally work anymore. I'm testing the travel clothing, because what I discovered is the more I work, the more I drive business to the top line, the more my wife has to work, and she can't work anymore. So, I just stopped doing anything that causes more friction. And now I'm a professional gallivanter or a travel clothing tester.
I like that term. I stopped doing anything that causes more friction. And that's that getting out of the way kind of thing. Yeah. And I imagine that the business is simplified that the money hits your pocket much sooner than it maybe ever has before, right? And
that is more predictable, yeah.
Yeah, I love it, man. Good for you.
I'm living my best charmed life, as you.
There you go.
Hey, there it is. That's well, and I here on this show, the term lifestyle business is absolutely not a derogatory term. And the people that are out there that say, "Oh, stupid lifestyle businesses," I just laugh at them because they don't get it. They don't get it. You shared the parable of the Mexican farmer or the Mexican fisherman, right?
Yeah, fisherman.
On Facebook. And it's true. If you pick what you want to do when you retire and figure out a way to do that while you're still earning money. And then if that's a bad word, or if that's a derogatory way to live your life, derogatory term, I want it. That's who I want to be. And that's who I am. We get to be those people. It's amazing. It's great. Yep.
Yeah, 100%. I wish I had known that going in, because I think that the perception of media, and you look at all the unicorns and the Facebooks and the Elon Musk, and you're like, oh, that if it's possible, I want to get it. I can. But to what end? It's just a headache. And I learned early on, I can't manage people. I just don't understand it. I don't want to figure out what 20 people need to tick. Some people need money, some people need affirmation, other people, need to be making more than the other person. I don't know.
I have often said, Scott, that I am a terrible manager, but it turns out I'm a decent leader, But that means then I wind up having to manage people that I wind up leading. And so it has to be the right people, or I can't sit here and figure out what it takes to make somebody tick. I'm just not wired that way. I'm the same as you. There's people who are, and that's great. I love them for it. That ain't me.
Yeah, I remember taking an HR class at the Ohio State University where I went many years ago, graduated in '87. And I sat down there and they were explaining all these, what motivates people. I'm like, wait a second. You give them a salary, you give them a task. When they finish that task, you give them another task, and maybe you give them 10 tasks. And in order to do that, well, I just don't understand it. I've learned, I understand it now. I understand it's so we did all these personality tests, and we use we had something called SkypeGate. We didn't know this at the time. Everyone, all the 20 people were all busy on their computers all day long and typing away. And one day I looked over one person's shoulder. They were Skyping each other as though it was a water cooler. The whole company, all 20 of them, were involved in discussions about when to get coffee. And when I saw them, they looked busy, and so we had to shut down Skype and take cell phones away. It was hilarious.
That's brutal.
That sucks though. Yeah, go ahead, Sam.
I want to ask you a question about working with your wife, because I think that's I've worked with mine as well. And tell us about the system, because it can be a little sticky how it works, and you got your personal relationship and different. What system did you guys come up with that works for you?
Oh, we don't have enough time, but
in a nutshell.
Well, when we started working together, she made it clear to me that I was so difficult that there's no way she could work with me beyond what is necessary to get the company up and running, and then she was going to go off and do her own thing. Okay. My wife is a remarkable human being. There is no one like her. The reason that this business is successful is solely because of her. The reason why we have really effectively one employee doing as much business as we're doing is only because of her. She goes to the work at 11 o'clock every single day, 11 p.m. And she works straight through until 9, and then she'll go skiing for a few hours and work some more and work some more and work. She just loves working.
Does she sleep?
Puzzle.
Nice.
A few hours here and there.
Yeah.
And,
okay.
And she just doesn't need it. I think it was an evolution to realize just how lucky I was to have someone so freaking dedicated. And any employee who did what she did would consider it abusive. I don't force her to do that. I can't force her to do anything. She's Mensa level smart. Her dream job that she described to me when we were first married, it was in a room by herself solving puzzles. She can't stand talking to people, so she does our newsletter. I mean, think of what's involved with running an entire apparel company.
Yeah.
From top to bottom, from all the promotions and the newsletters and everything else, and new products, and I just set up all the vendors and stuff. So it was an evolution, but it was firstly understanding a mutual respect and not treating her as a subordinate, treating her as a partner, and the best partner ever, one that will never leave. Unless I am abusive, which I'm not. So,
sure.
But, and you have shared interest. And when we came down to the pandemic and we started thinking we could go bankrupt, and you have that person that you look in the eye and said, no, we're not going back. We're going to suck it up. This is what we're going to do. And it can be really amazing if it works. It's uncommon though, and I wouldn't recommend it for most people.
My friend Shannon Jean likes to say that having the right spouse is a force multiplier, and you just epitomized that.
Exactly,
yes,
man. Exactly.
Yep.
I've had a similar experience, and
same.
For us, it's division of duties, and I think you nailed it. Nobody's subordinate to each other. You're partners, and that mutual respect, the way you talk to each other, and everything. And if you do it right, man, it's exponential. That's great. So kudos to you for recognizing that and finding the right person.
Well, it wasn't easy, and early on in our work relationship, I turned to her and I said, "Listen, honey, sweetie," which didn't go over well. I was like, just until I just need you here until we get up and running at this in Sun Valley, and once we do, go off and do your charity things and eat your bonbons and let me do the big boy business stuff. And she turns to me and she says, no way, I'm not going to relinquish that much power to you. Because if you are coming home working your ass off, and I'm just finished a sweaty tennis game with my girlfriends eating bonbons and talking about this, that, and the other thing, she didn't say it in these words, but you have the power.
Interesting.
And I saw how your father treated your mother. I don't want to be a part of that template. And I'm an equal. And another thing she said to me that I didn't believe, a great story. We were sitting when we started doubling the business year over year. We went from 2 million to 4 million, 4 million to 8. And I said, honey, we got something here. We're getting to 50. And she says, no, we are only going to do that if we remain, delivering excellent quality of customer service in everything we do. And I said, there's no way we're not going to make mistakes once we start, scaling at that level. Get used to it. It's just a fact of life. You cannot grow at this rate. And she said, I don't want to be a part of it. And I bullied her into accepting my vision for what success was. And in doing so, we hit roadblocks and failures, and now we don't make any mistakes. Zero. We're at a zero. We do everything as perfectly as can be done, and if we can't do it perfectly, we just don't do it.
Wow, I love that.
She was right. That was our one fight in our entire marriage. Truly. I remember we were sitting when we had that discussion, and I remember the tone that I used to explain to her that she was so wrong. And it gets back to that smaller but profitable lifestyle business. And, when you have all these vendors, all of which make more money based upon how much advertising you buy or, whatever, no one else's compensation is tied to profits except yours. None of most of your employees aren't, most of your vendors are not. Everyone makes money regardless, but you only make money when you make money. And
they make money by getting you to spend more money, right? So they're constantly motivated to get.
That's why we lost $2 million in advertising.
Grow, and growth is incredibly expensive, man. That's for sure. And it's like for me, it's like it also was kind of wrapped up in my ego in the sense of growth, and I built this big company and this kind of thing. And it took probably a decade for me, my first business, to realize that bigger is not necessarily better. And I wasn't making any more money. We just had a bunch more people and a bunch more headaches, but our bottom line that came into my bank account was the same. So it's an evolution.
Yeah,
definitely.
Well, kudos to you for figuring it out and keeping the business alive and obviously very healthy throughout it. That not everyone is able to do that. And kudos to you and Laura for making that happen, Scott. That's awesome.
What's your favorite product that you guys are selling right now? What do you like?
Yeah, I love the QZip shirts.
Yeah.
It's just a simple performance t-shirt with 3 pockets. I love our whole line. We have 80 some products now for men and women, and and they all fit a niche. The travel vest is the most popular, as you would expect. You put vest in your name, but I just would, anyone listening to my words, intellectual property is not nearly as important as you would think. Competition is not nearly as important. Just focus on the fundamentals, do them really well. Focus on making money every single day, not waiting for Christmas or this, that, or the other thing. And don't look at, I was so fixated on the bonobos of the world who entered into this space and seemingly were making a tremendous amount of money. I think Andy Dunn sold more stock than he did pants. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean that, but he was successful in his own right, but he wasn't successful in the true sense of what I think is commerce. Making a product for a profit, selling it, to a customer who wants to come back and buy more, and not just for the sake of growth. So.
Those are sage words. That's great. We really appreciate you coming on, talking to us. I always love the shows where my mouth is shut the most because I learn the most. So that's perfect for me, man.
Yeah,
it's good.
Scott,
fun, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah,
this was amazing. Tell people where they can find you, my friend.
ScottEVest.com. That's SCOTTEVEST. Or you can't remember that, just search the word travel vest and we'll come up first. So
There you go.
That's awesome.
Thank you for this, Scott. So much fun, and I learned some things that I didn't know about you, and then there was all the advice that I really learned. Thanks so much, folks. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week. Keep living that charmed life.